Welcome, everybody, to The World is a Mess. This is episode 76. This is September the 12th, 2022. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin, and I'm here in North Hollywood, California, USA. And I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Bertison. He's in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada. How's it going, Daniel?
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. Let me look up. We were talking off camera about the Toronto shooting, and then sorry about that, got interrupted. I got to find that article. Bear with me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Okay, can you see that? Daniel? Hello?
Yeah. I can see it.
Okay, it says Toronto police officer, one other person killed in Ontario shooting rampage. Suspect killed by police. Constance Andrew Hung, 48, of Toronto's police traffic reserves unit, was fatally shot at close range. A gunman fatally shot a Toronto police officer at close range during a shooting rampage that started Monday in Mississauga, west of Toronto, and ended in Hamilton, where the police killed the suspect. One other person was shot dead in Milton. Three others were wounded, police say. Toronto Police Chief James Raymer and Constable Andrew Hung, 48, was killed while on a joint training exercise in Peel and York Regional Police. He died at the scene in what is now Peel's police chiefs called an unprovoked ambush. Hung, a member of the Toronto Police Traffic Services Unit, had worked for the force for 22 years. He's survived by his wife, 2 children, and parents. He was shot while on his lunch break, according to the Peel Regional Police. And there's a picture of the police officer who was shot. So yeah, that's crazy. Where did you hear about this news story?
Oh well, when I turn on my Skype, I get these reports. Well, not Skype, but YouTube. It's just automatic.
Okay, so this is CBC News. This is a Canadian website. Yeah, I wonder where he got the gun. I'm assuming that he must have had a grievance. Maybe he had gotten a ticket and it was financially costly and he had a grievance. There's no excuse for that. But yeah,
So
that's correct.
That guy?
That guy is the guy that got killed. That was a police officer that got killed. Andrew Hong. Yeah, so no matter what your grievance is with tickets or whatever, there's no excuse to murder somebody in cold blood like that. Human life should always hold precedence over property and monetary value. Human life is priceless. And it's crazy because Canada has very restrictive gun laws. I wonder how the guy even got a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of gun was it? But yeah, that's the first time I've heard of a shooting in Canada that I can remember in any recent history. Shootings in Canada are not very common.
Yeah.
Do you have any other insight on this?
No, but I heard there was multiple shootings, multiple shootings, in certain places. There was like at least 2 or 3 civilians who were killed. I mean, this gunman has been really crazy.
It says here it was just the police officer, one other person killed. I think the person who was doing the shooting and the police officer. So there's only 2 people killed.
Yeah, I know. But then, apparently I've been listening to something else, another news station that says Apparently, there has been other shootings in other areas, and yeah, man, it's just like it's just crazy what's going on, you know?
Uh, there's a whole Wikipedia page, so a list of massacres in Canada. Um, the last shooting that occurred in Canada was September the 4th. They're kind of scarce in Canada compared to the United States. And before that was, so the last shooting was September 4th of this month. And then the last shooting before that was in June the 6th, 2021. But yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, so do you have any other input on that topic before we move on to another subject, Danny?
No, I have nothing to say.
So what else is on your mind that you wanted to talk about?
Um, uh, oh, remember we wanted to talk about like the Queen of England? She passed away. Remember that? We said we wanted to talk about that.
Oh yeah, the Queen Mom. She's
Yeah.
passed away. Oh, let
Mhm.
me look up a news story about that. Yeah, we're a little late to the game on that.
Yeah. Apparently they're driving her
Queen.
around. Like, like I was talking to people. I said, like, when are they going to bury her? And they're like, oh, next Monday. So Monday the 19th. So like that's kind of odd. Why do they take so?
Well, because they they want to make they want to make a spectacle of it. But yeah. So yeah, 4 days ago, the Queen Elizabeth II. This is on BBC News. Queen Elizabeth II, UK's longest serving monarch, has died at Balmoral, age 96, after reigning for 70 years. She died peacefully Thursday afternoon at her Scottish estate, where she spent much of the summer. The Queen had come to the throne in 1952 and witnessed enormous social change. Her son, King Charles III, and the death of his beloved mother was a moment of great sadness for him and his family, and that her loss would be deeply felt around the world. Uh, he said, we mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much loved mother. I know her loss will be deeply felt through the country, the realms, and the Commonwealth, and countless people around the world. During this period of mourning, he said that he and his family would be confronted and sustained by the knowledge of the respect and deep affection the Queen was so widely felt. But yeah, I mean, I really, to be perfectly honest, I don't really think we should have a royal family in England. I think that the concept of royalty needs to be rendered obsolete. You shouldn't have elites who are entitled to large estates and large sums of money for just existing in the right bloodline. But yeah, it is sad when anybody dies. Um, and she was this historic figure because she's the longest reigning monarch of England. The king and queen of England they're largely figureheads. The power lies with the parliament and the prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your take on the death of Queen Elizabeth II?
Well, uh, I don't really feel very much of anything, and I mean, a lot of people I talk to, they tell me like, oh, like she's like, oh, like I asked them, like British people, they say they don't care because they're like, oh, what does the Queen do for anybody? She doesn't do nothing for nobody. All she does is party, right? I mean, this is basically all she does is this. This is all she
Well,
does.
she's a tourist attraction. That's
And
basically.
like basically people tell me like, oh, what does she do for nobody? Other people have to suffer every single day. They have to work their ass off every single day for a living, while this person just lives in like in ease, right? So there's a lot of angry people out there. So let me tell you something. I know this may sound negative, but a lot of people are mourning, but I guarantee you just as many people, if not more, are actually celebrating.
Well, and she was also involved in colonial racism in Africa. I don't know the full details, and I have to do research, but you know, England didn't have a good reputation with what they did in Africa, and
What happened in Africa?
there was this segregation and racism. They occupied, foreign countries in Africa under colonial rule, under the guise of colonial rule, and discriminated against people of color.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, yeah.
So, and that happened under her reign. Um, but yeah, so I mean, she's a mixed character, but I don't agree with the concept of still having a royal family. You can brag about being descended from a royal bloodline, but you shouldn't be state sanctioned because that creates classism. And I don't think any one class should be above the next. But yeah, I mean, and they're saying that she died peacefully in her, in her estate. But I had heard like a couple days before they were like she went to her doctor and they were concerned about her health. And then the next thing I know, I hear that she's passed away. So I don't know if it was as peaceful as they claim it was, because there was just a couple days before a news report about her critical health and her physicians being concerned about her critical health.
Mhm.
So I thought she was going to live to be like 110, but 96 is still pretty good long
Yeah.
age. And you
See,
were
I
right.
thought,
And you were right. William Shatner outlived her.
yeah, I was right. Just one night before I was like, whoa, just one night, like a few hours before, like, wow. I guess I predicted it. I predicted it.
Yeah, you just didn't
Um,
predict the exact time, but yeah, it makes sense because William
yeah.
Shatner's pretty good health. But I mean, William Shatner is 90 and she was 96. So, and see, Stanley.
I
Yeah,
mean, no,
Stan
yeah.
Lee was 95. He was 95 when he passed away, November the 12th, 2018.
You know how you say with great wealth comes great poverty?
Yes, that is true,
Well,
because
yeah, like that's why,
in order
yeah.
to consolidate great wealth, you have to take from the working class, because the there are no such things as self-made billionaires. Billionaires got there because of their employees, and if you're not willing to pay your employees a living wage or allow them to have a democratic um, address or redress of a situation through unions, then you are essentially living off your employees. And management alone can't manage production or manufacture products. Only the employees can. And the until more people start to realize and rise up and say, hey, we need to unionize, we need to get paid better. But yeah, I don't agree in the concept of billionaires. I don't think that billionaires should exist, because they exist um, from the blood, sweat, and tears of their employees, and they exist from resources expended by other people, sometimes at their own expense to the point of their own detriment. And it basically becomes a parasitic or a vampiric type relationship between management and employer. They suck all the productivity out of the employer to the point where the employee, the employer sucks all the productivity out of the employee to the point where they can't even afford an apartment, and then they have to get a million roommates just to be able to barely exist. And they can't even afford a car, they can't afford health insurance or medical emergencies. That's not right. That's not just, that's not right. But yeah, so with great wealth does come great poverty.
Yeah. So that's why people in London, like I was always told, that's why people in London are so poor, because they have to pay so much taxes to keep the Queen in Buckingham Palace, keep her keep her nice and fed, and so it's basically on their detriment, right? So
Well, yeah, and also the England is a shrinking empire. They don't have the influence. They're no longer a world power like they used to be at the beginning of the 20th century. After World War II, they pretty much declined as a world power, and their empire and their economy has been retracting ever since. And so, yeah, I mean, it's sad when anybody dies, but um, I just don't believe in the concept of a royal family. I don't think you should hold one family above anybody else. Uh, it should be merit based, but that's not merit based. That's just being born into the right bloodline. That's genetic based.
yeah,
And but yeah, and there's a lot of racism when it comes to like Kenya and um the British occupation of like Ethiopia, and I don't know the full details. Maybe I can do some research and we could bring up the full details. But there was a lot of racism that involved colonial territories in Africa, excluding people who were black from resources, sucking the resources out of the country, so that you can give all the wealth to the crown. So yeah, Queen Elizabeth II, not the most horrible person that ever existed, not the nicest person that ever existed. She was kind of a mixed bag. So I don't like all the propaganda PR they've had on her, because she is a mixed bag. She's not the worst person, she's not the best person. She's kind of gray.
yeah.
And but yeah, anything else do you want to add about Queen Elizabeth II passing away before we move to the next topic?
No. Well,
So
but just
anything else on
again,
your mind?
they'll
Anything
bury
else on
her
your
next Monday, the 19th.
Okay.
So yeah,
Where's she gonna be
but
buried at?
I'm not sure.
Hmm, oh, she's gonna rest beside her husband of 73 years, who's already passed away. She's gonna be
Mhm.
buried next to Prince Philip at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. So she's gonna be buried and
Yeah, it's weird. I mean,
interned at Windsor Castle.
but why did we make fun of that? Because like, okay, Prince Philip was actually the king of London, right? Why did he call himself Prince? He's a king.
Prince Philip? I don't know too much about Prince Philip. Hold on.
Like he
I
was
don't
the
I don't follow the royal family, man. Hold on,
I
please.
know, but it's just kind of weird, like, some people do it because they don't want to feel old, you know.
He died in 2021. He died relatively recent.
Yeah, like last year.
Um, he was the husband of the Queen Mum. The Queen Mum. Anyway, share screen. Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh or Edinburgh. Yeah. Uh, yeah, he was the husband of Queen Elizabeth and served as the consort of the British monarch from her succession. Yeah, so he died last year. I haven't kept up. I don't keep up with the royal family. It's not my cup of tea. Uh, he was 99 when he died
Yeah.
last year. Interesting. But yeah, I don't know too much about Prince Philip. Let's see. He was born in Greece, born into the Greek and Danish royal families. His family was exiled from the country when he was 18 months old after being educated in France. Germany and the United Kingdom. He joined the Royal Navy in 1939 when he was 18 years old. In July of 1939, this is according to Wikipedia, of course. In July of 1939, he began corresponding with a 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth, the elder daughter and her presumptive, or her heir presumptive of King George VI. Philip first met her in 1934 during the Second World War. He served with distinction in the British Mediterranean and Pacific fleets. In the summer of 1946, the king granted Philip the permission to marry Elizabeth. Well, how quaint. Before the official announcement of their engagement in July of 1947, Philip relinquished his Greek and Danish royal titles, royal titles and styles, and became a naturalized British subject. Oh, okay. So he was Greek and Danish descent. Interesting. Okay, well, neato. Yeah, I don't. Anything else you want to add to that? Prince Philip, who died last year.
I would no, I not nothing but that. But anyways, I'm back on the Queen. I was talking to some people and they actually said like they don't care because she's like some spoiled rich lady who died. I mean, she never went through what other people went through, right?
Yeah, but you
like
should.
they don't know what failure is, but they don't even know what success is either because everything is, given to them on a silver platter, right?
Well, that's true, but you should never. You should never wish death or suffering even on your enemies. You should try to be humane, and I don't wish for anybody to die. I think it's tragic
No,
when anybody
no, definitely
dies,
not. You don't
and I
wish
don't
that,
think
but
she was the worst monarch to ever exist, but I don't think she was also the best person. It's kind of a mixed bag. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
I don't really follow the royal family. I'm American. She's
Mhm.
the queen of Canada. She's also the
Oh yeah,
queen
yeah,
of
yeah. You
England.
told me that the
Yeah,
Queen of Canada.
because Canada is a British Commonwealth. They have a treaty with England and they trade. They have an exclusive trade agreement.
Mhm.
Belize is also a British Commonwealth, and that's why like the Queen of England appears on Canadian money. You ever notice that?
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that.
Yeah, because she's the Queen of Canada as well.
Oh, okay.
But it's only a figurehead. She doesn't really have any direct power.
Hmm.
It's the parliament. The power lies in the parliament and the prime minister.
Hmm.
But
But anyways,
you
how
know,
much time do we have left? I mean, if we have any
we
time left,
have 7 minutes. We got
do you
seven
want to
minutes.
talk about what's
Yeah.
happening in Ukraine? Or did you hear that Russia is retreating from Ukraine?
Let me go to Al Jazeera. We'll find out. Uh, Alrighty. Sharing screen. Okay, so there's been some significant change in the map in the last 24 hours. You have the red areas controlled by the Russians. The yellow area is the Donbas region that has declared independence from Ukraine and is allied with Russia. And the blue areas are claimed Ukrainian counterattacks. And so, and these little circles here are basically significant fighting in the last 24 hours. This is day 201 of the war, September the 12th, 2022, 10 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. And yeah, they have kicked Russia out of Kharkiv. Looks here like Ukrainian forces, instead of focusing towards the center, they focus towards the northeast. They've kicked Russia all the way back to the border, but they still haven't. They still haven't been able to retake Kherson or Mariupol. These are two major cities. They really need to focus on Kherson, because if they can take Kherson, they can cut off the water supply to Crimea. And Russian forces, wow, they have really collapsed in the northeast, but they still control all this territory. So we'll see if the entire Russian army gets routed. This could be a major victory for Ukraine. This is the most significant territorial gain of the Ukrainian army in like 6 months. Now we'll see if Russia managed to muster a counterattack. I know that Russia has reinstated the draft, and they've done massive recruitment to try to replace their losses, because they've lost about 15% of their strength. So yeah, I mean, they had already kicked out the Russian army out of Kharkiv, but Russia was sieging Kharkiv and still firing artillery at it. And so they've kicked them a reasonable distance away, and significantly retaken a big portion of eastern Ukraine. But I would still not consider this a decisive counterattack until they've retaken at least Kherson and Mariupol and kicked Russia out of Crimea. Because as long as Russia holds Crimea, they're able to block wheat exports from Ukraine, and they're able to disrupt supply and disruption. So we'll see. Yeah, this is actually surprising news. The Russian army continues to do very poorly and suffers from very low morale. So we'll see what happens from here. But yeah, I mean, let's see. Russian-Ukrainian war. This is AlJazeera.com. Who controls what in Ukraine? It says Ukrainian forces have recaptured most of all of the Kharkiv province in a rapid counteroffensive, inflicting a huge operational blow to Russia, says the Institute of the Study of War. Who controls what in the Donbas region? Russian forces continue to carry out ground attacks in Donetsk, according to the Institute for the Study of War. Russian forces have also claimed Ukrainian forces are reinforcing and Ukrainian forces are reinforcing and demining the Verdor area in western Donetsk. And then it says, who controls what of the Donbas region? Russian forces continue to carry out attacks in Donetsk. According to the Institute for the Study of War, Russian forces also claim Ukrainian forces are reinforcing and demining the Verdor area in western Donetsk. And then it also tells you where people are fleeing to. So far during the war, you've had, you've had 2 million refugees flee to Russia, 2.4 million refugees, 16,000 to Belarus, 5.9 million to Poland, 757,000 to Slovakia, 1.3 million to Hungary, 1.1 million to Romania, 600,000 to Moldova. But yeah, this is for the longest time it was a stalemate. But yeah, they've recaptured all this territory, but there's no hope with the war ending anytime soon until they kick Russia out of all territory, and that also includes Crimea. They need to kick Russia out of Crimea, because as long as Russia is allowed to hold Crimea, they're always going to have warm port for their Black Sea fleet, and it allows the Russian Navy to run maneuvers along the coast and disrupt supplies and production in Ukraine. So we'll see. I still no sign of when the war is going to end. We're at day 101, And before I go, we got about 1 minute left. Any other words you have to say about this battle map?
Wow, it kind of changed a little bit, you know. It'll
Well,
be
yeah,
interesting to
they've
see.
significantly kicked the Russians out of the Kharkiv province. And they were launching a counterattack towards Kherson. They're trying to retake Kherson, but Russia's put up fierce resistance in that area. They also have to be careful with their flank, because if they're counterattacking from here, who's to say that, like, Belarus is a big ally of Russia and they have their own army, although their army, I think, is only like 20,000 troops. It's not very large. And then, Russia has other armies inside of Russia. So they need to be careful because they could overextend themselves. Russia could counterattack through this area again. Because if they have all their forces focused right here, and then Russia counterattacks here, they could end up cutting off their supply lines. But the Russian army has done very poorly. I've actually been very surprised at how poor the Russian army has performed. It's still somewhat of a stalemate, even though they've recaptured some territory, because until they, like I said, start recapturing Kherson, Mariupol, or Crimea, you have no way to know if there's any end in sight for this war. But anyway, thank you very much for your time. Let me stop sharing that. This is your host, Steampunk Star Raisin of AmberStreet.com. You have a nice day. And I will see you 25 billion years. I will.
Bye.